Hey, what's happening, guys? Today I'm showing you how to make low carb biscuits in 3 minutes. We're gonna do two different variations of these biscuits. One's gonna be a plain butter biscuit recipe, and the other one is gonna be a Red Lobster inspired low carb cheddar cheese biscuit. And who doesn't love those biscuits from Red Lobster? Am I right? With that being said, let's get in this one and make some low carb biscuits. All right, so the first thing we want to do for our keto biscuits is get out our food scale, and we'll also want to take out a medium-sized bowl. Next, we want to start getting out our dry ingredients, starting with some almond flour. Today, I'm using the Kirkland's blanched almond flour, and I've actually been using it in all my recipes lately, just because it's cheaper than the Bob's Red Mill, and because it has the lowest amount of net carbs for blanched almond flour, which is only 2 net carbs for every 30 grams of it. So with that being said, for today's keto biscuit recipe, we're going to add 4 tablespoons or 56 grams of it to our bowl. We're also going to use some unflavored whey protein powder to add volume to the biscuits. And for today's recipe, we're going to add a half a scoop or 15 grams of that stuff to our bowl. We'll also just want to add a touch of sweetness to these biscuits without adding any carbs. So we're going to use a tiny bit of confectioner's erythritol in our biscuits as well. And today we're going to use a half teaspoon or 3 grams of the erythritol to do that. Now, to give these low carb biscuits that crumbly consistency that every biscuit has, we're going to use some coconut flour. And a little bit of coconut flour goes a long way. So for the biscuits we're making today, we're just going to use 2 teaspoons or 5 grams of that stuff. We're also going to add a heaping half teaspoon of baking powder and just a pinch of salt. Now we're going to add the liquid ingredients to our biscuits, starting with 2 tablespoons or 28 grams of melted butter. And we're also going to add about 2 tablespoons or 20 grams of some water. So now we're going to get out a spatula and mix all the ingredients until they're crumbly. Once that crumbly consistency does start to form in the bowl, that's when we're going to start getting our hands a bit dirty, and we're going to start pressing those crumbles into one another until a ball of dough starts to form. Once a ball of dough does form out of those crumbles, that's when we're going to use our hands to actually shape a biscuit out of the ball of dough. All right, so once we've got that biscuit shape going on with our dough, that's when we're ready to get out a small ramekin. We're going to generously coat it with some baking spray, and then we're going to add that biscuit to the ramekin. At this point, we're all set to microwave our biscuit. Just so you know, my microwave is a 700 watt microwave. It is very weak, and the cook time in my super weak microwave is about 2.5 minutes. But just keep in mind that every microwave is different and that your cook time is probably going to be less than mine. So while the normal butter biscuit is microwaving, let's go over how to make the Red Lobster inspired cheddar cheese keto biscuit. First off, let's talk about the cheese. I used Cracker Barrel's extra sharp cheddar. The reason I went with this cheese is because it has 0 carbs and it tastes delicious. If you can't find this at your grocery store, just try to find one that has the lowest amount of carbs that you can. With that being said, if you're using sliced cheese like I'm using, what you want to do is cut it into strips, kind of like I'm doing here, and then you want to cut it into small pieces. At this point, we're ready to add the cheese to the same ingredients that we used to make our butter biscuits, except we're just adding this cheese and a couple other ingredients as well. And the other ingredients are a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder and a pinch of Italian seasoning. So now we're going to follow the same steps that we did before. We're going to form crumbles out of the ingredients. We're going to use our hands to form a ball of dough. And then out of that ball of dough, we are going to make the shape of a biscuit. Once we've got the shape of a biscuit, we're going to add it to a ramekin coated with baking spray. However, this time we're going to add some dried parsley to the top of our biscuit, as well as some garlic salt. At this point, the cheddar biscuit is ready for the microwave, and once again, around 2.5 minutes is the right amount of cook time for my microwave. Once the biscuit is done in the microwave, we'll want to use a knife to loosen it from the edges of the ramekin. And I think it's really nice to caramelize the top and bottom of these cheddar biscuits. So what I like to do is heat up some oil in a pan and then just flash cook the top and bottom. And if you do this, make sure you press the biscuit down with something heavy so that it cooks evenly. And then check this out. This is how these low carb keto biscuits end up looking. They have the perfect biscuit consistency. They're crumbly on the outside, buttery on the inside, and they're just incredibly delicious. I really hope you guys enjoy these. If you want more information about today's biscuit recipe, check the video description below, and I'll see you in the next recipe.